Hello and welcome to Inside Okemos Athletics. I am Deborah Guthrie, and joining me today is Ira Childress, Okemos Athletic Director, and Roya Burton. She's the sports reporter here at HOMTV. I've asked to switch things up a little bit, and it's kind of an emotional interview for me. Since Ira walked in the door, we have clicked, right? Mm-hmm. We clicked right away. Since Roya walked in the door, I think we clicked right away.
Right away.
And they're both leaving us. So it's very emotional for me because I love the both of you to death.
Thank you.
And I think you're both fantastic people. So I wanted to do an interview with both of you about your time here at HOMTV, what we've worked on, where you're going. And I kind of wanted to start off with my experience Monday.
Okay.
I went to an MLK luncheon. I've never been to it before. Supposedly the MLK luncheon in Lansing is the biggest luncheon in America.
Okay.
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
And they kept saying, be the change you wish to see in the world. And then I heard about you leaving. And I couldn't think of two greater people who make big changes in this world and live by that phrase week to week, day to day. And so I've been honored to know you. Ira's accepted a position in Miami. Roy's accepted a position with NFL Films.
Yep.
And so let's talk about, I kind of want to talk about the day you walked in the door at Okemos High School, the day you walked in the door at HOMTV, and how your experience with the Meridian Township Okemos community began.
Yeah, the day I walked in the door at Okemos High School, it was, Christine Cermak, the principal there. I was following around like a little puppy dog. She was taking me by the hand and just giving me all the great advice. And she's been an amazing leader for me at Okemos. And then a couple weeks later, I had a chance to meet you. And I remember being on a hot day, and we had a big press conference. And I won't go into that, what it was, but I just remember saying to you, hopefully we could meet in different circumstances, and you right away said, "Oh, I don't care about this," and I just thought, "Oh, wow, that's awesome."
Like it didn't have a negative impact.
It didn't have a
negative or positive. It was just this is a phase. We're covering it.
Yeah. And then we just hit it off, and I remember saying, "Hey, I think we can have a great partnership together." I said, because a lot of times schools are afraid of media, and media don't get a lot of coverage with schools because everybody's thinking there's going to be something negative happening. And I said, I think we can have a really good partnership and really help shine a light on the student athletes and coaches who are doing great things at Okemos High School. And I remember you saying, yeah, exactly, let's do it. I don't think you thought it was going to go to the level that it did, because I just remember calling you, and you called me and said, "Hey, what about this idea? Let's do that." And so we've just had a great relationship, obviously personal relationship, but just working together over the last 6 years has been absolutely amazing.
Roya, when he would call me, I'd think, oh my gosh, what is it now? What does Ira want now? Which is probably what you thought when I would call you.
Oh, yes,
hey, Roya, or text you.
The text.
Nonstop.
Roya, are you covering this game? All right, like I will make sure that I'll be there. And oddly enough, I covered the whole playoff run, and that was, something that meant so much to me. But I'll never forget the first day I walked in the door and I had my interview with you and Brandy. And of course, I was a little intimidated by Deborah. I was like, she doesn't mess around. But for me, it was an instant connection, because I always like people who are going to hold me accountable and who are going to be just 100% honest. And I think especially with what we do in this industry, that is so, that's just a key role in that. And you guys threw me out there, and I remember I was so confused, didn't really know how to hold a camera. I knew I was a decent people person, and I could speak to people, but you guys taught me how to shoot, how to edit, how to really grow in front of the camera. And I look at things from 3 years ago. My first semester was May of 2016, and it's 2019, so it would have been 3 years come May, and I've just seen how much I've grown. But I know none of that would have happened if I didn't have, such honest and great people, and then even the relationship that I've made with Ira as an AD. That's something, you've got to make contacts, or not relationships, not contacts, and that's something that I've just seen be so beneficial.
So the first person from HOMTV who interviewed Ira was Audrey Dahlgren, who's at Channel 6 right now. And you're going to be maybe the last, because I'm probably going to call Ira and bug him or something. But you're going to be the last HOMTV intern to interview Ira. Tell me about, this is putting you on the spot, especially since we're live.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience, and both of you, answer that, your experience on the field, on the football field, at the basketball court, the relationship that's built between a journalist, and I think you treated HOMTV interns as journalists, and the athletic director.
Yeah.
No, just from my experience, one thing I saw in Roya, and I've seen a lot of interns, some really, really strong and others that needed a little bit of work, but she came in really, really strong, and one thing I liked about her, she wasn't down there looking into the stands, she wasn't, twiddling her thumb. I mean, she was locked into the action. She followed the ball, I'm talking football here, she followed the ball everywhere the ball went, she knew what was going on, she was, getting the emotions, the highs and lows. She knew when I was excited. She knew when I was like, pulling my hair out.
Well, we all knew. We could all see it.
But she was just into it, and you could tell like she was there to get a great story. And to me, as an AD, that meant a lot, because I wanted to see. I see journalists that are in so-called professional roles that didn't have the acumen and the IQ and the hustle that Roya had, and that brought out a lot in a lot of other interns to see her as an example of what to do. So I really appreciated her.
Yeah, for me, whenever I would get an Okemos game and be able to cover it, I was always just so excited. But then, I felt the pressure because of the, relationship with you guys. I want to get things right, and I think when you're covering high school football and any sport, you have to anticipate. You've got to know this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But it's not like I didn't make, those mistakes as a rookie. But over this past football season and then the 2017 season, I knew everyone's name on the back of the jersey. There was a big coaching switch. That's huge when you've got a longtime coach, you bring someone new in. All of that, I was always reading. I was always, kind of keeping up to date. But I think the relationship with you was just so awesome because, I came in and, I could tell being an AD, that's a big job. And growing up in the sports world, I can tell you, you're probably the first African-American athletic director that I've had the experience to, really spend some time with. And whenever I would come into games, it was just, knowing, hey, like Ira's here, they're, not like all eyes are on you, but you're covering the sport. And I just always wanted to get it right because of that respect level, because, you were always asking me how I was or just asking how my day was. And, whether it be homecoming or even when Okemos made it to the playoffs and when we beat Jackson, I remember I have this soundbite of you just screaming, you're like, that's good, that's good. That was probably one of my favorite moments because I want to say the week prior, it was Okemos East Lansing. It came down to a field goal maybe, and it was missed. And then this game, Okemos sealed the deal, and I remember it was just a beautiful kick. And there we were on to the second round, which I got to cover as well. So it's just little things like that that kind of make everything so special. And to see all those emotions play out and to have my own, I guess, personal copies of that is something that I'll always cherish, and I won't forget. Like, hey, this is where he started, and where no matter where I go next.
Do you see yourself, this is for both of you, you mentioned, Ira, Black athletic director. Do you think of yourself as a leader in the Black community or African community, African American community?
Yes, I do. I mean, I take this role very seriously. I would have anyways, but I took more responsibility, realizing I was the first ever African American administrator at Okemos High School. That meant a lot to me because I knew that if I did well, others would get opportunities, and now we have an African-American assistant principal. We have an African-American AD at the middle school. We had another African-American assistant principal that left. So, you just open doors and you walk through doors knowing that, hey, it's not about you. It's about the people that are coming behind you that are going to get opportunities. So yeah, I take that responsibility very, very seriously, and know that people fought and died for me to be in this situation that I'm in right now. So you know, you talk about MLK Day. You know, just think about everything that he went through, so that myself and Roya could be sitting up here talking to you and being in leadership roles. I mean, not so long ago, this didn't exist. You know, when I came to Okemos High School in 2013, they had never, ever in the history of that school had a person of color, African American, sit in a leadership role at the high school. So, I mean, you think about a 6-year span, that means a lot.
It was kind of a shocker.
Yeah,
It's like,
it was.
oh,
Yeah, I
oh.
remember. I'll tell you a little funny story. I was at the first volleyball game I did, and I was working there, and the referees, and they were great. They didn't mean any harm. They were great. Lansing Everett had a new AD at the same time as we did at Okemos, and so I came up and he said, "Hey, we hear you're the new AD at Lansing Everett," and I'm like, "No, actually, I'm a new AD here at Okemos," and they all went, "Oh." Like just stunned, you know, and that's okay. But you know what? No one else will ever have that feeling again. You know what I mean? No one will ever be stunned again. No one will ever be shocked. And this conversation won't happen unless we're talking about history again, because now this has been forever changed. If that makes sense.
It does. And so you're well into your career, and we will get to where you're going next. And Roya, you're up and coming, and you're the first intern here to go to NFL Films. Do you feel that same sense of responsible leadership, you know, in your role?
Oh, absolutely, because, you know, being a woman in itself, that, you know, it's an everyday hustle, but then when you're an African American woman, it's, you know, it's even more of a grind, and sometimes you have to prove yourself even more, because people are, you know, sometimes want to be like, okay, you know, she's here at every game, but does she really know what she's doing, or does she really know her stuff? So that's why I've always, you know, had a lot of pride in making sure that, you know, I was anticipating things, and I was always one step ahead, because while there have been a lot of steps made, I can name 15 white sports reporters on ESPN, anything, versus, you know, we've got like Maria Taylor, Sage Steele, those are all, but those are still very few to what, you know, we see every single day. So for me, it's just always been, you know, keeping my composure, having a certain level of respect for the people around me, but also showing people, like, you know, I respect myself too. And it's just all in the way you carry yourself. And that's huge, because sometimes as an African American, you're looked at with a microscope. You know, people are always, you know, waiting for you to make that mistake. And I know I can't make those mistakes. And I won't get the same chances that someone else may. So I do definitely feel a level of responsibility, because, you know, little girls that, you know, look like me will look up to me and say, hey, like, she's doing that, I can go do that too. And even a lot of the times, sometimes I don't do stand-ups because it's not about me when I'm at the games. I'm here to shoot the game. And, you know, all of those roles are so valuable. But, like, look at me, I've got the camera, I'm gonna rush down to the end zone, I'm gonna rush right back for the kick, or I see this happening, he's about to get sacked, I gotta get down and, you know, never miss a play. So I do definitely feel responsible just to always, you know, uphold myself, you know, with the greatest respect, and, you know, just to be, you know, someone that, you know, their little girls want to look up to.
Do you have someone in your life that was an inspiration to you, that really, you know, maybe when times are tough, or maybe you feel like, I'm going to give up on this, that you think, you know, their words, like something struck you, you know?
For me, it's my mother. You know, she's always been my champion. I remember, you know, we didn't grow up rich or anything like that, but she always made me feel like we had everything we needed, you know, and that no matter what happened, you could achieve anything you want to achieve, and always, you know, dream big, you know, and that's what I try to tell student athletes and students today, is like, dream big, dream outside of your surroundings. If you grew up like I grew up, you know, because you never know, you know, things, you know, dreams do come true if you put in the work and you continue to do the right thing. So my mother is always an inspiration in my life. And even I hear in the back of my mind today,
Yeah.
even all these years later, just, constantly saying, hey, keep following your dream.
For me, it would absolutely be my parents. I have a very strong mother, and she's very strong and independent, says what she thinks. And I have 3 brothers, and I'm an only girl. So I've always kind of been raised just to be very strong-willed, not to really, take it from anyone. And my dad, he always says the term "we." He goes, "It's never about you. It is never about you. It's about the people you surround yourselves with." And you always treat people that way because you never know when you're going to need someone, and you never know when that person's going to come through. So my parents just set a very strong example. And growing up, I kind of grew up in the public eye with my dad being a college football coach. So I was definitely in this space, but I've had to see a lot and be exposed to a lot of some of the trials and tribulations that he's had to go through as a coach. And it all comes full circle. And then we talk about completing the circle. And they just raised me always just to be very, very selfless, just to thank the people you got there, because you can't do it alone.
Did you feel sometimes that you had to prove yourself even more because your dad is a college football coach?
Yeah, a little bit. There were times where Coach Burton's daughter's here, and I was like, okay, you got to be on it. But yes and no, just because I know the way I was raised, and I know the way that he raised me as well. So I think the pressure was there, but he has always been like, this is what I do, but I'm your dad first. He's my dad first, and as a coach second. But I think that's where my love of football and my love of athletics comes from. So yeah, there was the pressure there, but he always made it not be too intense.
Now, you both mentioned the hustling. I think of both of you as hustlers. It's a fantastic term in my book. I'm a social media addict. We all know this. A ton of people live on social media. I couldn't think of another sports reporter who didn't hustle more than you did on social media.
With the
and
tweets. Yep.
So many interns, I rode hard and said, where's your sports stuff? Where's your sports stuff on Twitter? Like, where is it? You were always there. Mm-hmm. I can't think of anyone else, and you propelled the student athletes and really celebrated them on social media, and that's something that hadn't been done before. I mean, I have a list of fantastic. I think this list probably is short. There's probably a long, like a Christmas list or something of accomplishments that you've had at Okemos High School. I mean, of course, the turf and securing the donation and working with the Gray Walls on the new turf over at Okemos. But for me, I could read each one of these things, but honestly, celebrating the student athletes and the coaches in the manner in which you did, and showing them that they should be proud of their accomplishments and proud of being out on the field and working hard and accomplishing what, even if they lost, to me was the biggest asset and the greatest thing that you brought to Okemos School District.
Thank you. When I think about it, it's just one of those things where you want to have the student athlete have a great experience, because they are no do-overs. When they come through Okemos High School for those 4 years, you want them to come back and say, you know what, those are the 4 greatest years of my life. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. And as an athletic department, our coaches, our staff, we pride ourselves on giving a great student athlete experience. And, that's something that we talk about during our coaches retreat. That's something that we talk about daily, is how can we enhance the student athlete experience. And so when you mention that being on social media, this is 2019. That's where people live at, and that's where a lot of the students are. So we want to get out there and we want to be on there and we want to be promoting all the things that they do. And the other thing that we pride ourselves on as a staff is we just didn't promote the popular, quote unquote,
Right.
popular sports. We talked about all the sports, and we incorporate all the student athletes as much as we could. And I think that's something that if I was talking to a young AD right now, I would say, listen, make sure you focus on water polo, or yesterday I was at a ski meet, or hockey, or whatever the sport may be, other than just basketball or football. Of course, they're going to get a lot of coverage because they're big time spectator sports. But at the same time, really be engaged. I mean, I spent hours at our tennis regionals and state championships, and we won the state championship in tennis. We have so many great stories in a lot of different Olympic sports, and to me, that's what it's all about. And then obviously, if you add the academic side of things, we had a 3.5 GPA overall for all of our student athletes. Now you have a complete, holistic student athlete. And to me, again, that's what it's all about.
Were you able to, we talk about football and basketball, were you able to cover some of those other sports and do any one-on-one interviews with student athletes?
I want to say about a year ago, we did, I think the girls went to a martial arts studio, and then it was a few of the girl athletes, I want to say it was maybe golf, they were learning self-defense. I did that story, I mean, it was 2017. Yeah, that was awesome, because, it was like women empowerment, know how to defend yourself, and it was with the head girls golf coach, Dan Stolz, and he was awesome. He even was like, Roya, you need to get in there too, like you need to sign up. And, I think all those sports need to be celebrated, and especially I was here for a few Inside Okemos Athletics episodes when we had girls golf on, and they had a tremendous season, and that's something that doesn't get a lot of coverage, especially as females, and they were killing it, absolutely killing it. So I loved the way that that was celebrated, because women who can perform in the classroom and then perform on an athletic field, that is really what's gonna set them apart. And I love how we're always referring to them as student athletes, because you've got to get that degree, get both degrees, and then your sport comes second.
Educational athletics.
What's next for you?
Next for me, I'll still be here until the end of the year, so I'm not heading out tomorrow or anything. But
So stop crying.
Yeah, but I'm going down to Miami, and I'll be starting at Gulliver Prep, which is one of the best private schools in the country. Great athletic and academic profile there. Great people down there. I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting to work down there, and working with their student athletes and also coaches. So that'll be happening this summer. It's going to be bittersweet, obviously, because I love this place, and it's been 6 years of my life here, and it's been a great time and a great ride. But also, it's going to be great to start that new chapter down at Gulliver Prep in Miami.
Will you still be doing Inside Okemos Athletics until you leave?
Yeah, we're going to still do
good.
Inside
That's
Okemos
good.
Athletics. We have our spring sports to talk about. We have some other winter sports to talk about. So we have a lot to cover here in the next few months on Inside Okemos Athletics. So yeah, we'll still be doing the show up until we leave, and so you don't have to cry yet. I'm not gone just yet, but it is going to be
I'll cry behind your back.
There you go. It is going to be bittersweet, because you guys I just think about all the interns. I mean, Roya has been great, but I mean, you talk about Audrey Dahlgren, and we talk about Chris Ryan, Andrea Urban did some great things.
And they're all doing great things.
So there's been a lot of really strong interns that you guys have had here at HOMTV, and it's been such a connection with Okemos Athletics and HOMTV. I mean, the things that you've covered. I remember standing in this new strength and conditioning center before it was the new strength and conditioning center, when it was just brick walls, and when you and I had a hard hat on, and you were out there.
We're in the golf cart.
Yeah, we're in the golf cart, and you were out
right.
there interviewing me before we really got going. I remember standing, out there before the turf got put in. There were bulldozers behind us.
Right.
It was 100 degrees out there.
We were melting.
We were melting, but we were talking about so there's been so many great stories. If you look at the
And
archives,
then the contract that you got.
Oh,
and
the
it came
Adidas
out,
contract. And
Yeah.
you did
That
that.
wasn't
You
a
came out.
boring conference room, that
Yeah,
interview,
but
but
you
still.
I mean,
You're
that was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
the new tennis court. I mean, it's just been on and on of the things that Home TV has been involved with. I mean, you guys we've been like, glove and fist, and that's that means a lot, because what high school has a TV show dedicated to their sports department that goes throughout not only this community but East Lansing. Other people who have seen this. Our student athletes get talked to all the time by people that they don't know. Say, "Oh boy, we saw you on Home TV. We saw you talking about your different sports." And to me, that's what it's all about, because some of those student athletes wouldn't get those interviews.
Yeah, it's a connection with the
we've
community.
had state champions on here. We had diving champions on here. I mean, just so many great people and so many great stories.
You won't be here though
No.
till the end of the school year.
Yeah, this is technically my last on-camera thing with Home TV. I'll be headed out to Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I accepted another producer's internship with NFL Films, and it's crazy. I saw it, I'm like, maybe I'll just apply for this, and I'm not really sure. And then I got an email. They're like, okay, we want to do just a Skype interview with you. And then they're like, okay, you've made it to the final round. And I know it started at about 600 applicants. Took it down to 60, and now they have 14 in, and that's in a bunch of different departments, rather it be producing, cinematography, talent relations, HR, project planning. So there are different interns coming in, and when I got the email, I was like, okay, so I think I definitely have to take this opportunity, because I always said I wanted to work for NFL Films one day, but I said towards the end of my career. So for this to be very new and starting now, I'm a little nervous, but I'm taking everything that I learned here from, the behind the scenes, the editing, building relationships, and that's basically what I'll be doing over there. So yeah, that's in about a week and a half I'll be leaving.
Take a selfie with the great Steve Sable.
Late Steve Sable.
So I'm in Arizona texting Roya a bunch of job leads. And I'm like texting her, I'm seeing stuff, and I'm like, oh, I know Roya loves Arizona.
Love Arizona.
So I'm texting her job leads, and she's like, so she finally texts me back, so I have something somewhere else. Like, stop with the job leads already, Deborah.
I have to let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some? You're going to be here for a little bit. What are some parting words or words of advice you have for interns? Or especially sports interns who are new here.
Do the things that you don't want to do. While I love sports, I still cover a lot of news. I was, very involved in the 2018 general election. That's huge to be well-rounded, because I think employers love to see that. Like, okay, so she can go out and shoot, the Ohio State, Michigan State stuff, but then here she is doing a candidate interview, and she knows about politics. Just really getting your feet wet and always saying yes to opportunities, and then also, knowing how to build relationships with the people that you're interviewing. I always looked forward going to Okemos games, because, it was almost like coming home. I remember, Deborah, you posted a picture because I covered their East Lansing games in the rain. It was on my birthday, and I was like, well, of course I would be here, because, you build those relationships. It was something that I looked forward to, and people know I had a bit of a rough year after having to leave about a year ago from a car accident, and to come back and to, really just hit the ground running again. That, meant everything to me. But, you want to work with great people, and that's really what it's about. And, it's hard to come by, because not everyone is as lucky as us to have these great relationships, but it really does go so far, and, never know what the future will
like
hold.
the paparazzi of sports. They'll sit up in the stands, take pictures of you and the sports reporters down there.
One thing I'll add is, for all the students out there who are watching, or young professionals, I would say run from good and chase great. And what I mean by that is that we may not never achieve the greatest achievements we want to, but every day I wake up, I'm always thinking about, how can I get better? How can I get better? What can we do better? How can we improve the department? What can we do to take it to the next level? I'm always calling you with ideas. Hey, did you think about this? What do you think about this idea? What do you think about that idea? Because you never want to get comfortable and feel like, hey, you know what? We've made it. You know what I mean? You just keep chasing that greatness, and good things will happen. And again, it's not about the things that are happening to you. The things that are happening to other people, the people's lives that you can affect, that's what it's all about. You know, I got a text or a tweet today from one of my favorite people, Ken Manning. And I remember Ken Manning he's a strength coach at Michigan State right now. But for me, he was my strength coach at the University of Toledo when I went there and I played football.
I didn't know that.
And he was a person that really impacted my life. I remember being on the Stairmaster at 5 a.m. and he's just yelling at me, let's go, keep going. But you know what? The thing about it, he said, hey, I'm proud of you because you didn't quit. You know, and he said, whatever you do in life, never quit. And so those are the type of things, the impacts that you can make on people's lives if you're chasing that greatness every day and not settling and not feeling like you've made it.
Well, thank you both for allowing me to turn the tables on you. I know you're typically doing the interviewing and other people are the interviewees, but today you were the interviewees. So I appreciate your time. You both have left a stamp on this community and a stamp at HOMTV, and so I will hold back tears until the end of the school year. But thank you so much. I really appreciate
you
know, participating in this.
for hiring me in 2016.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the continued greatness, right?
Yes.
That the both of you are going to be doing, and so that ends it. Unless you have something. All right.
That's it.
That ends it for this edition of Inside Okemos Athletics, sort of a special edition of Inside Okemos Athletics, and we'll return to normal next time.